What's up guys, it's Mackay Typhoon here, and today we're going to talk about how to get aim just like FAZE Mongraal. Now FAZE Mongraal is one of the best aimers in the game, so we'll look at different tips and tricks that he's used for his aim, as well as other general tips that I'm going to check out in there, so enjoy the video. So the first thing we're going to very quickly talk about is the Skybox aim training map. I'm not going to go into too much detail about this because I've spoken about it before and it's widely used, but Mongraal is a huge advocate of this map and has previously mentioned how he used to spend hours training his aim here. And if Mongraal is training his aim on this map, with how godlike his aim is, then surely you should definitely do that too. The map even used to have in association with FAZE Mongraal on it, so that kind of shows how much involvement he had with this map. The drills I'd recommend on this map are Skeet Frenzy, Popcorn and Horizontal Tracking, but all the drills are really good, so just try them out and see which one works for you. So the second thing I'm going to talk about is Kovacs. I'm again only going to briefly touch on this because we've spoken about it previously and it's very widely known. Mongraal himself used to use Kovacs. You can find videos of him when he's played Kovacs on stream, and as you'd expect, he is so good at all of the Kovacs routines. And this is, in my opinion, the best aim trainer. Yes, you do have to pay something like $10 for it, but I'd certainly recommend, if you can afford that, to put it into your aim training routine because it is so good. So now we get into the more important stuff, and this is where I'm going to give you what I believe are the best tips to make gradual improvements in your aim. You absolutely must be using Raider 464's Aim Duel Map, which has a number of really useful drills and modes which can improve the most important aspects of your aim. A large amount of fights in Fortnite turn into close range shotgun battles, and sometimes, especially off spawn, your opponent will jump into your box and force a 50-50 fight. And this map has a number of different scenarios, including ramps, cones, high and low ground, wall peaks and more, which will work on your shotgun aim in these close range 50-50 scenarios. Being able to hit high in these situations will win you so many more fights, especially when playing against aggressive players. Now the reason why I love this map so much for shotgun aim is because it doesn't only work on this close range headshots shotgun battles, but it also improves movement in these close range situations, which is such an important skill that you need to master and not many people have mastered. And this is one of the biggest differences between pro players and people who are trying to become pro players, is that they've mastered both having incredible aim but also having really good movement whilst working on their aim. So this map also has a rift section and a tracking section, which of course will help work on your tracking. And I think the literal only downside of this map, it seems, is that you need a friend to play this map with, and if you have no friends, you can't do this. Well, that's actually not true. On this map there's a really useful matchmaking section, which I think most creative maps have these days, and this means there's always another player you'll be able to train your aim with. So if you only listen to one tip from this video, then please make sure that you'll start using this map because it's so good and it will make the biggest improvements out of any in-game trainer out there. So now we're going to be talking about sensitivity, and there's never really one right answer when it comes to sensitivity, as everybody is so different with how they can adapt and react to different mouse movements. But I would say currently this season the meta is slightly higher sensitivity, and please note the slightly part of that. That doesn't mean you want to ramp up your sensitivity really high, but maybe just slightly higher than you usually have it. And the reason I say this is because the biggest drop rate on shotguns is the tactical shotgun, and this is more of a spray shotgun than in previous seasons where you would constantly get a pump and relied on big hits to end fights early. Because you won't be hitting crazy numbers with the tac, it can be beneficial to raise your sensitivity slightly and then sacrifice a bit of the aim for the benefits of other faster mechanics. So what I would do when it comes to sensitivity is to try and raise it as much as possible until your aim starts to suffer considerably from raising your sensitivity. And then once you're at this point, then try that sense for a while, see if it works for you, and then change it if it doesn't feel right after a few days. I think one thing that you have to realise is that aim is potentially the most important mechanic in the whole of Fortnite. It's the mechanic that can get you out of really scuffed situations, it can end fights that you really shouldn't win. So when you're choosing your sensitivity, you need to make sure you prioritise the effects on your aim above your effects on your other mechanics, because your aim is that important compared to your building and editing, which, whilst of course very important in their own right, they can't do the things that aim can do in terms of getting you out of those 50-50 situations. situations. So the next thing you have to consider when it comes to aim is gear. Now this is more aimed at keyboard and mouse players, as there isn't a huge amount extra you can do with controllers other than maybe use control freaks, which back when I was playing controller I thought they were really helpful just to make small and subtle improvements with my aim. But I don't think gear wise there's a lot else you can do with controller. If I'm wrong about that, then please put in the comments below and I'll check those out and perhaps talk about them in a future video. But when it comes to your mouse, this again slightly comes under the part of personal preference. So you can get a good gaming mouse for around $15, so you don't have to break the bank or spend any crazy money to get a decent mouse for Fortnite. But when you are buying a mouse, there's two important things to consider. And the first one is how many mouse buttons it has, and the second is the weight or the shape of the mouse. Now I won't go into the mouse buttons in this video, as this video is about aim and we just want to focus about things that will only have an impact on our aim and not the rest of our mechanics. So in terms of whether you should use a heavy or a light mouse, this is definitely personal preference. So you will see some pros using a light mouse and some using a heavy mouse, so just try both if you can and see which one you prefer. A really light mouse means that your arm is doing most of the work, which can be considered a good thing, but also might result in you losing a little bit of mouse control. But then on the flip side, using a heavy mouse will give you slightly more mouse control, but might restrict your movements a little bit more. So just try both, see which one you prefer, see which one gives you even the subtle bit of better aim, and then go with that one. It's also important that no matter what mouse you choose, to consider your mouse pad alongside it. Now I feel like this is something that not many people have spoken about before, but if you have a lighter mouse, it might be worth considering getting a mouse pad that has slightly more friction in order to improve your mouse control. And again, if you have a heavy mouse, you might consider getting a mouse pad with less friction to allow for less restrictive movements, because your mouse already gives you those restrictive movements. So just have a little look around and see what mouse pad might fit your mouse, because a lot of people will just buy the best looking mouse pad but not actually consider the friction of that mouse pad, and that can actually have real effects on your aim. So the next thing I want to mention is this tweet I came across from Aim7 talking about performance mode. Now if you don't know who Aim7 is, he's a Fortnite aim coach who has worked with many different pros. So when it comes to knowing about aim and the different ways aim can be worked on and improved, Aim7 is one of the best sources of knowledge. In this tweet, he talks about people who don't use performance mode and that they clearly don't have good enough mouse control, as they can't see the benefits that performance mode brings when it comes to smoothness and reactiveness of the game. Now this has an effect on your aim, because if the game is more reactive and smooth, it then allows your aim to be more reactive and smooth, and therefore gives you a slightly higher skill ceiling that you can reach. Now I know some of you in the comments might say, well, why don't you use performance mode then? And honestly, if I was competing or really trying to improve my game, then I would 100% use performance mode. But because I make videos and I want them to look as good as possible, and let's be honest, performance mode looks horrible, I would definitely use performance mode if it wasn't for the fact that I was creating content. Now I think using performance mode is one side of it, but also just thinking about FPS in general and the smoothness of your game in general is 100% something you need to look at when you're working on your aim. So make sure you're getting as many frames per second as you can possibly get. Just search on YouTube, try and find an FPS guide. I'm probably going to make one on this channel at some point, so stay tuned for that, and you can also use the tips that I bring out then. Just make sure you're getting as many FPS as you possibly can, because smoothness and reactiveness of the game will then correlate to not just your aim mechanics, all your other mechanics as well, but specifically for this video, it will help your aim. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about in this video is the map on screen, which is Teadoh's Aim Map. Now this map is really good for both controller and keyboard and mouse, and it is one of the closest in-game aim trainers to Kovacs, and it actually tries to emulate most of the Kovacs routines, so I think this is what Teadoh was going for when he created this map. Now I won't go into too much detail about the map itself, but I definitely recommend checking it out as it has some very unique techniques. One of my personal favourites is the shotgun switch to submachine gun practice, which is a really good habit to get into for real games, and it has lots of other unique routines just like this one, so definitely go and check that out, see how it works for yourself. I guarantee this one will improve your aim, so just give it a go. And that's it for the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate all the support you guys have given me on the last couple of videos. It's really helped me out and motivated me to make more content. If you did enjoy this video, please make sure you leave a like down below, leave a comment to interact with me, and please subscribe with the notification bell on so you don't miss any of my future videos. Stay tuned, much more content will be being released soon. I'm going to try and release more videos faster, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.